Video I'm going to show you Mac users how to set up the Bluetooth to talk with Calico, and once you've done that you'll be able to communicate via Calico with the robot and write and run programs for the robot. So anyway, to get started I'm going to assume that you already have Calico installed on your Macintosh, and if you haven't, well, then you need to go do that first. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. You can find that on the Calico IPRE website. So I'm assuming your robot's off. I'm going to go ahead and turn the robot on right now. That little sound indicates that it's on and the light isn't flashing, the blue light, and therefore it has enough power. So the first thing I'll do then is I'm assuming also that you have Bluetooth configured. So if we go over here, I'll click on System Preferences and Bluetooth is on. I could get to my Bluetooth up here, but since that might not be there on your computer, I'll instead open it here. I now want to add a device, and so I will click the plus button over here, and it will scan for Bluetooth devices. I've turned my robot on, and therefore the Fluke shows up. This is the number that I find on the circuit board of the Fluke, and therefore that's the one I want. It's unknown because I haven't registered it yet. I'll select it, and it's important that you select the robot's Bluetooth that you're actually working with. The communication failed because I have to use the passcode. Make sure that you've selected use a specific passcode. Then go over here and enter 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the same for all of our robots. Hit OK, and now communication should be established with that. And yes, it was successful. So now I quit, and I need to now go here to the system that the Bluetooth that I set up, and I need to edit the serial ports to associate a serial connection with that Bluetooth device. It's now talked with the robot. It found the name of it over here. I'll cut and drag and Command C to copy that so that I'll be able to paste it later because I'm going to need it. And then here I'll click Require Pairing for Security. If that had been already selected, I would have unselected it. It seems that changing the state of it helps on the Macintosh systems. I hit Apply. Notice that this light here has turned green, indicating that we have communication. At this point, I'm ready to talk to the robot. And so that's all it takes to configure the Bluetooth, but now I'm going to take you to the part that you'll do every time on a Macintosh that you fire up Calico and start your robot from scratch. You run Start Calico, which, as you can see, obviously I put in my dock. I'll move it over here. Click on the shell so that I can type commands, and I have to type from my row import star in order to have access to the software used by the robot. Thereafter, I just need to initialize the communication port. On a Macintosh, it's different than it is on the PC. You have to use the quote here /dev/tty dot, and now I'll paste that name that I received when I associated the serial port with the Bluetooth device, and I'll hit enter. Now, if this works properly, I'll communicate with the robot. That was successful communication. I can tell because here it says Fluke and Scribbler. That is, it's talked both to Fluke and via the Fluke to the robot, and it knows the name of the robot, which is Scribby. I'll finally verify communication and also see whether I've got a good battery level by running the get battery command, which of course is part of my row. 6.77 is a little on the low side, so once it gets down to about 6.5, I'll definitely want to recharge these batteries, or if I'm not going to use the robot tonight, I'll go ahead and recharge them. But once it's down to 6.5, I recommend that you swap batteries out or the robot will behave very strangely. So that's all you have to do. Henceforth, when I fire up Calico, all I really need to do is turn the robot on, and fire up Calico, do the from Miro import star, and then do the init. These should be in your history so that you can use the up and down arrow and don't have to remember this big long IPRE 6-28 286 467 hyphen dev B. For those of you who are so inclined, I'll mention that over at this point when I had set up the IPRE 6, the serial communication, what I could have done, I'll go back and show you this, is I could have put a different name here. I could put practically any name I want, and then that would be used henceforth. I've gotten to a point where I use so many different robots on mine that I just use whichever one shows up, and I just cut and paste it. But I could have called this something like, you know, my robot. And then I just would have replaced that text following the TTY dot in my init henceforth. And I would use my robot, which is easier to remember than this big long thing. Now on my computer I don't do that because I use lots of different robots and I don't think it's that hard to simply set this up every time. So I'm not going to do that, but I showed it to you in case you're interested. Well, that's all, and I hope you Mac users now have everything running. Send me emails if you've got trouble.